everybody, and welcome to this week's Wednesday Words. My name is Debs Barrett of Adapt Counselling, and today I want to speak to you about FlowerHeads and candles and exactly what that is. FlowerHeads and Candles is a quarterly bereavement support event, and it's an idea that came to me back in 2013 when I used to work for St Michael's Hospice in Basingstoke. It was based on the bereavement evenings that we used to do at the hospice, and I took what I learnt from there and formed bereavement support groups where people could come together, hear a bereavement presentation, and then divide into smaller groups and share with each other their experiences. So a form of peer support, if you like. And the first group will be running in Haverhill shortly, in a few weeks' time. Is going to entail teas and coffees on arrival. It's at the Epicentre, and then there will be a short presentation on grief and the bereavement process. We will then divide into small groups, and you don't need to talk, but it's helpful sometimes to share with each other your experiences. And then we come back together as a main group for a final act of remembrance in memory of our loved ones. And in order to support that event, I've been donated some flowers from Barnwell's florist in Cambridge, and the idea is that you choose a flower head and bring it to the bowl of water that I'll have with some candles, and you just place it on that water in memory of your loved one. You don't have to do this, of course, but when the flower heads are all floating on the water amongst the candles, they look so beautiful, and it's just a wonderful way to end our time together. Now, my experience of bereavement, I've known several people who have died, but for me, I was really struck by how I felt when my aunt died. She wasn't a real aunt, she was a friend of the family. As a child, my mother was very unwell and not able to look after me. Therefore, a friend of the family, whom I knew as Aunt Joyce, stepped in. And Aunt Joyce really was everything a mother should have been to me, in terms of the bond I shared with her and how she looked after me and how I loved her, and the happy times we spent together, and the positive feelings I felt, the warmth, the affection when I was with her. You can imagine then the shock that I felt when she took her own life by suicide. I was 21 at the time. It took me many years to come to terms with the fact that that had happened, and I still feel the pain of that loss today, many years later. At the time when we lose someone we love, could be human, could even be a pet, the process we go through, feelings and emotions are similar. sometimes they feel very strange to us, these feelings, and everybody's reaction is different. Everyone's way of coping is different. But for me, I began to realise how alone I felt, how isolated I felt. And as the years went by, I had a yearning that I wanted to support other people through this. When I started working at St Michael's Hospice and I had my training there in supporting people through bereavement, I began to think, how can I help others? How can I help people in the community that they don't feel so alone, that they don't feel so isolated, that they don't feel such despair? Because we can feel despair, we can feel guilt, we can feel longing for the life that we had before with that person. When somebody dies, so much remains unsaid. We lose that opportunity to say that to them. We may feel a whole mixture of emotions and everything within us gets muddled. No matter how prepared we are, perhaps, for somebody to die, we're likely to feel really shocked immediately after the death. It's a natural reaction to any bad news, this sensation of shock. I will go through more of the symptoms that we might feel at the FlowerHeads and Candles event, but it's really my hope that people can gain strength from each other. Such a difficult time, and unless you've actually gone through it, you can't really be expected to fully know just how bad that can be. But I'm here to tell you that you can actually survive the experience. It may feel like you do not want to at the time, but that is perfectly normal for what's just happened to you. And the feelings of sadness, everybody needs to mourn the loss when someone close to us has died. And it's really important that we don't ignore that sadness, because then it can turn into something we call complicated grief, which is even more difficult for us to bear. And if I could give any advice, really, is that in bereavement it's best not to make any quick, rash decisions, because it's impossibly hard for us to think straight when this has happened to us. Our emotions are a bit like a roller coaster, very, very up and down. Feelings of anger are a common experience, even anger at the person who's died. And then we have guilt, and we think, how can I possibly feel angry at this person who's died? But this is perfectly normal. And the guilt feelings can be so destructive, and they can make us feel really bad about ourselves. We can also have regrets for things we've said, things we've done, things we've not done. But we're all human, and misunderstandings and disagreements, they're inevitable in all relationships. And the worst thing we can do is to beat ourselves up over this. At some stage you'll find that feelings of sadness may become less intense, and they're interrupted by feelings of pleasure. And as the weeks and months go by, life begins to feel different. And it does not mean that you no longer care about the dead person or the dead animal, but rather the rawness of that steering pain lessens and becomes more bearable. And you do learn to adapt to a different life without that person or without that pet who has died. You begin to be able to make plans for the future. Holidays, for example, will become more involved in local or social activities. And although sometimes this can feel disloyal to the person who has died, it is not at all, because that person in the past now will always be a part of you, will not be affected by your enjoyment of the present. I really hope that makes sense to you. If you need any more support, you can contact me one-to-one at Adapt Counselling, and I can see people face to face or online. If you like this video and you found it supportive, please like, share, comment, and you're very welcome to attend FlowerHeads and Candles at the Epicentre in Haverhill. Thank you very much. Debs Barrett from Adapt Counselling. Bye bye now.